Hey, what's up, guys? It's Tommy here, a trans guy living in Florida. I hope everybody's doing well. Personal update, I'm doing okay. I've had my moments of mental health crises where I just need a couple of days to chill. I know I've had my moments where I can push through. It's weird because some of the stuff that is going on doesn't impact me as intended, right? Because I have passing privilege, so on and so forth. Other times when we talk about being able to change documents or changing back documents, that irks me because I feel like that's an invasion of privacy. One, two, there's already been a path set. I followed all the rules to the best of my ability. You're punishing me just for being. And three, it's really not helping anyone to have documents changed and all rearranged and stuff, but according to what I've heard lately, it's been blocked, so thank God. I was having a conversation with a young man. The man was 25. I'm in my 40s now, right? So I think I'm 47 years old. Yes, sometimes I forget my age. But the awesome thing, or I guess the revelation of talking to this dude was, hey, Tommy, you still have things to say, because I often struggle with that. See, when I was 6, basically, one of the things that I used to notice that people would just talk incessantly. And sometimes they talk just to hear themselves speak. And I was very aware of that from a very young age. So I've always hated people just talking for the sake of talking. I'm okay if you want to be around me and just be quiet because you have nothing to say. It's okay. And so, especially in this day and age of social media, I feel like sometimes people make content just for the sake of making content, not because they have anything impactful to say. I struggle with that because in order to keep the algorithm going and to keep you guys engaged or whatever, not for the algorithm to treat me right, I have to start creating content. But oftentimes, I feel like there's nothing I can say that's not being said. Maybe that's a lie and I have to face that, but that's oftentimes why I stay quiet. But in speaking to this gentleman, this other trans dude, I started to realize there's something I could say. He was going through something that I went through, in the first beginning stages of transitioning, especially when you're going from a life where you're seen as a gay female, right? In my case, a stud, into a other life where you're seen as a straight cisgender dude, and trying to find where you fit in, right? Because going to certain bars and clubs after a certain amount of time felt uncomfortable for me and the people that were going there. And it was just constant having to come out type deal, right? And that's just uncomfortable and stupid. And then also not necessarily fitting in with cisgender men, because some cisgender men can be a bit much, And I think at first I thought it was because I was a trans guy, but then I also realized that other cisgender men said the same thing. But at the time I didn't know that. And so there was probably about a year or two, especially when you combine transitioning with getting sober, there was about a year or two where loneliness was a big feeling of mine. And how I got through that is, well, one, honestly, I started watching a lot of shows that would make me feel comforted, that had other queer people in it. It didn't have to be trans people, it just had to be queer, and that helped. Two, I realized that this was just a temporary stage. And three, oftentimes in our loneliest moments, in our most painful moments, is where we see some type of growth. For me, it was becoming. It was okay, I get to do this the way I want to. It was becoming, And still to this very day, the growth hasn't stopped. The transitioning in the medical sense may have. I don't have anything medically that I want to do to feel more in line with my body, but the growth hasn't stopped. The going to another level hasn't stopped. The becoming the person that I want to be has not stopped. In fact, that is probably going to be an ongoing thing, because there's always more and more that I want to do before I leave this earth. But if you're going through a point in your life, in your transition at the current moment, where loneliness seems to be inevitable, sit with it. Don't run from it. Sit with it. As uncomfortable as it could be, there's nuggets of truth in that discomfort. You know, maybe it's time for you to leave a particular relationship. Maybe it's time for you to do the things that you've always wanted to do that you never could do for whatever reason. You know, maybe it's just time to like block out all the noise and really get to know who you really are without the noise of your family, noise of society, and just know you. And I don't think this particular suggestion goes just for trans folks. It goes for everybody, you know. I think cisgender people don't have to do it to the depth that trans people do. But there's a time and place where you need to get to know yourself outside of influence, right? And that takes time, and it takes introspection, and sometimes, yes, it takes being lonely and alone. But, excuse me, I have sniffles as per usual. But once you get to that particular place where you start to really know yourself, I promise that's a level of strength that is very unshakable and unbreakable. The strength of being to stand on your own 2 feet and know who you are. The other warning I would give you about that particular place, though, is that it's a place that needs to be kept, watered, looked after, you know. So you'll have times in your life where you just need to like put everybody to the side, take time for yourself. Anyway, it's a harsh world out there at the current moment for trans people, because even if you're not directly impacted by the things that are going on, it's still a mental battle hearing a lot of people say things about you that, quite frankly, they don't know. I've been watching a lot of debates online, and when people start debating, especially about trans minors, they don't know what they are talking about. They don't know the process. All they know is the propaganda that they have been fed. All they know is what the news outlets have been telling them. And whatever their biases are that, you know, get confirmed through whatever the news outlets are telling them. None of these people have sat down and talked to an actual person that knows, not an expert, not a trans person. And even when you talk to other trans people are only experts in their own experience, which is why I only speak for my own. I cannot speak for the entire community. For God's sakes, everybody has a different experience. So just know that. Know that we are not only in a battle for our humanity, but we are also in a battle of misinformation and disinformation. And that's basically what's going on. Listen, if you want to find positivity and if you want to find love, it is out there. You just have to train your brain to find it. Guys, I hope you have a great one, and we'll see you soon.